went to this lovely arboretum in January, and it made me think about the importance of connecting with nature. Now, before I continue any further, I suspect many of you don't actually know what an arboretum is, which is fine, I didn't until a few years ago, so here's a brief explanation. An arboretum is a collection of a variety of different types of trees and shrubs, used at least in part for scientific study, so it's similar to a botanical garden. I think going on walks like this and appreciating perhaps what we might consider to be simpler things can actually make you realise just how complicated and varied they all are, and I think it helps you understand why it must be protected. This arboretum is partially designated a site of special scientific interest for its Breckland crops and invertebrates. It's also a special protection area for nightjar and woodlark, which are ground nesting birds. Now, I just mentioned Breckland crops, but you're probably wondering, what is Breckland? Well, Breckland is an area of heathland in Norfolk, and it's one of the driest areas in the country. In fact, it only has 600 millimetres of rain or precipitation a year on average. For reference, the average in the UK is anywhere between 800 and 1,400 millimetres a year. The area is also unusual for the way it was formed from wind-blown sand over chalk, and it's resulted in acidic grassland being formed. As for the trees, most of them are Scots pines. As this is an arboretum, the trees here were planted carefully and chosen for the site. The heathland is the natural landscape, but the trees around me are from all over the world. I understand that this kind of knowledge about the landscape isn't everyone's favourite thing to learn about, but I think it's really cool how somewhere like this, that doesn't have so much going on at first glance, is actually somewhere really quite special scientifically, and you wouldn't know that unless you looked into it. I mean, most visitors who come here wouldn't know about that. For them it's just somewhere to go on a walk, but now you know, so yay for education! Now it's time to have a look at some of the actual trees in the arboretum. First, we have this tree, which is a London plane. It can grow up to 35 metres tall and live for hundreds of years. You'll find this tree all over London, hence the name, as it's pollution resistant. It's thought to be a cross between an American sycamore and an oriental plane. This tree is a blue oak, named so for its bluish-green coloured leaves. This tree comes from California, can grow up to 18 metres tall roughly, and they are known for being especially resistant to heat and droughts. So they are tough trees. This is a common hornbeam, and it's native to the UK and many other places. They live up to 300 years, grow up to 30 metres tall, and it's known for being used by Romans to make their chariots because it's a strong type of wood. Something you find all over the UK is these lovely flowers called snowdrops. They appear when spring is just starting and have a history of being used for the Christian festival of Candlemas. Something I just discovered about snowdrops, which I think is amazing, is that although eating snowdrops is poisonous, a compound found in them has actually been used to develop a dementia treatment. That shows just how important all these different plants are. You never know what secrets they could hold with a little research. This tree is the final tree I'll be talking about specifically because I don't want to bore you. But there are many other trees in this collection, and if you become interested in trees, feel free to check out some of the references in the description, as some of them are websites all about trees. This tree is the Chinese pine, which is of course from China, but it's also found in Korea. It grows up to 30 metres tall, and the oldest recorded tree was 402 years old. The Chinese pine is used in Chinese traditional medicine as it's distilled into essential oils. The wood is also a good source of hard, strong timber. Arboretums are not just pretty trees and flowers. They often have bridges and lakes, such as this one, where you might find some ducks. I love ducks very much. So this is a public announcement to not feed ducks bread, because it's not good for them. While it's lovely to look at these trees and appreciate them, sadly, this forest is currently afflicted by Dodhistroma needle blight, and this is partially affecting the Corsican pines, which means they're slowly being replaced with other species by Forestry England. The Scots pines, which the Breckland landscape is known for, are also affected by this disease, but it's to a lesser extent, and Forestry England would like to keep these in small clumps for the sake of wildlife who have it as a habitat and for the natural landscape features they provide. So, we've talked about some cool plants and wildlife, but what can you get out of arboretums? Well, there's obviously some environmental impacts. I'm sure you're aware of how trees absorb carbon dioxide and turn it into oxygen, so that's a massive benefit for the sake of the climate. But at a smaller scale, the Arboretum provides a beautiful place to have a walk. It's fantastic for your health, with benefits of exercise, of course, but there's also evidence from forest bathing that it can enhance positive emotions, lower blood pressure and heart rate, and reduce stress hormones. So honestly, going to your local arboretum or forest sounds great to me. So after all this, what can you do to help support your local forest? Well, the main thing is to become a volunteer. You could help with tree planting, trail inspections, or other conservation tasks. I've put a link to the volunteering page of Forestry England in the description. Another way to help out is to become a member of your local forestry association by donating to them directly, which will support projects that will look after the forest. I hope you enjoyed this silly little video, or maybe found it educational about arboretums and forests as a whole. But seriously, go visit one! These are lovely places and you'll have a nice time. Thank you so much to my campers and glampers, Senora Reba Fajita, Nera Chimera, Lumelia, AJP3D and Shadow X6E. If you'd like to become a member too, you can hit the join button down below, and if you'd like to support your local forest, I really hope that goes well for you.